National Sports Festival for 2024, but actually being hosted in 2025, Mike?
Yeah, being hosted in 2025, this is because they just wanted to align the calendar to ensure that everything is properly set, because having a fire brigade approach just because you want to meet up with a calendar, and at the end of it, so we don't really organize a top-notch delivery out there, so they have to shift it in order to give the state ample opportunity to also have a final finishing touches on some of the infrastructures that they have on ground. More like what we are having in the African Cup of Nations presently, where, if African Cup of Nations is supposed to take place today, it would be tagged, backward because of the calendar and the time zone and all of that. So for me, I think what is most important is for us to have a very long-lasting taste of the National Sport Festival. It doesn't matter whether it's 2024 taking place in 2025. What we care is about unearthing talent that will be prime and properly positioned to do the nation proud in future.
For the Gateway Games, we will now move on to handball, where the Nigerian Handball Federation has announced the final squad for the Women's Trophy zonal phase in the under 18 and under 20 categories. The team, Mike, is set. Do we see the training facilities out there in Lagos in preparation for this tournament ready?
Yeah, of course. I think I've been following this very well for the last couple of weeks. Right now, they've been also doing a lot in order to, have the final training, session before they can jet out. They're about to jet out on to Abidjan very soon. So I think if we go by what Coach Agbola Shitu has been doing alongside John, I think they've been doing a lot in order to perfect their own craft and also put the players in a very good condition to go out there and compete at the highest level. Not just going out there to make up the number, but to go out there and compete against some of the best hands right here. So for me, I think they are, set to go.
Nigerians under 18 and of course 19 squad are ready to hit Abidjan as we speak. The team is airborne, and they're hoping that they will be in Abidjan any moment soon to contest in what looks like a promising one, where the desire to qualify for the continent and first will be on the showcase. Now let's quickly stay away from handball. Mike, let's look at the latest coming from the world of tennis. And talk about tennis, the Barcelona Open is a major event around the world. For now, top seed Carlos Alcaraz has entered into the quarterfinal after a straight-set win over Laslo Djere, Spanish world number 2, of course, winner of the Monte Carlo Masters just a few days ago. Looks good, this one. He had the first set taking 6-2, 6-4 in the second set, and that was it for the unseeded Djere being ousted out of the competition. The man from Serbia sent home by reigning champion from the Monte Carlo, Carlos Alcaraz from Spain.
Yeah, for the Spanish player, Carlos Alcaraz, he seems to, gradually discovering his form when he won that Monte Carlo Open. I think for me, he might just build on that, seeing how clinical he was last night, and also, sending back in Jerry. I think for me, it's a statement of intent. He's one of the big names still left in this very competition. And I believe what we are, seeing with Carlos Alcaraz, he might just head to the final of this very one. And if he does, then I can assure you that he's going to win it. But one thing is important for Carlos Alcaraz is about him, trying to rediscover his old form, because it's been a while that he won a major title. Winning that Monte Carlo Open a few weeks ago is more like a morale booster for him, and I hope that he builds on this going forward, especially when some of the big name that would have been a stumbling block before him is not part and parcel of this one. You talk about the world number 1, Yannick Sinner, still serving his suspension, Novak Djokovic out of this very one. So I think he's the least big name that is still very much available in the competition, and that is an advantage for him.
Talking about the Barcelona Open, we've seen a situation where it looks like a big name has fallen. Fokina has ousted his opponent.
Yeah, for Fokina, I saw this coming because his game 3 days ago, before this last game, I saw how he was, exuding with a whole lot of energy. Was very smart, very sharp. Most of his serves out, they hardly drop his serve, which for me, I think, accounted for him, and let's just hope and see if he's going to be one of the challenger for the Barcelona Open.
Well, still talking about the Barcelona Open, the females are in action as well. Informed teenager Mira Andreeva went out with Togara opener. She lost to straight sets to fellow Russian Katerina Andradova in the last 16. It looks like the Russians are ousting themselves.
Yeah, for the teenager, I think she's had a very impressive start to the season so far, winning the Dubai Open. Then you talk about the Miami Open.
She's only 17 years of age.
Yeah, and the record-breaking victory for her so far this year. The only 17 years, play a teenager to win a 1,000, Masters event. It doesn't come easy. So I think most of these players coming up against her have really taking note of her exploit, and that is why they don't take it lightly. Don't give her that edge just because she's a teenager. You think you can just have it a roller coaster ride. If you don't buckle up, then she's going to surprise you just the way she has done in the season so far, where she was able to defeat a world #1 and world #2 en route to the final of the Indian Wells, then the Dubai Open as well.
Well, talking about big names at the Barcelona Open, Andrei Sabalenka, world #1 Open, the big names are still there. Arina Sabalenka, of course, the world #1 is still there as well. So let's hope we can find some excitement more at the Barcelona Open coming from the females and the male as well. But it's looking very interesting that after Monte Carlo Masters, these tennis players still find the strength to provide the excitement we see on the court. Mike, it looks like the schedules are all jam-packed.
I remember some time ago, a few months ago rather, where they complain about all these tight fixtures, and then again you talk about late night matches, which for me they've taken care of that late match timing issues. I think what is left now is about probably it's going to affect the players, because playing today, then resting one day, the next day you are up there. I mean, the world of tennis, you exert so much pressure and energy. So you needed more like 3 days or even 4 days rest before the next game. But then from the jump, Novak Djokovic is very selective of the kind of play these young, vibrant players of your energy, because of the sequence of matches that you are going to play. So for me, I think probably the authority, they are going to look into it in the future and see how to balance the book.
Talking about balancing the book out there with crowded fixtures in tennis, I'm sure the Players Union are still at work with the organizers of the WTAs, and of course, not just the WTA, the
because you can't test positive once, testing positive twice again. It was a clear evidence. Even when they tried to extricate him, they had to take him to court of arbitration, and they actually proved that indeed tested positive for a banned substance, cholesterol.
Anyway, I think the question here is he didn't deliberately take it, but that has not been an excuse. We know of other tennis players who had been found guilty even when they did not. Remember, even Iga Swiatek,
yeah,
and all of that. But it looks like that of world #1, Yannick Sinner, were given some kind of professional treatment. He's been given, I think his ban expires on the 4th of May, and he'll be back to yet another, major tennis tournament ahead of Grand Slam. And everybody believes that he's been protected because he's world #1, maybe because he's Italian. But all of these are conjectures. But there has been clear evidence that the way other players, tennis players, have been treated when